G'day everyone. So what I want to show you now is how to use SketchUp to incorporate images into your drawing, and the two things we'll be looking at is how to import a photograph and perhaps how to import a photograph or an image from, let's say, a Google search that you do, and to use it as a texture. Now, an image that's placed as an image is different from an image that's placed as a texture. What I'll be able to show you is that an image that's just placed as an image is a single picture that we can put on our object in SketchUp, but a texture repeats and it also fills an area to a precise surface. So in this occasion, what I've done is just put an image as a picture that I found on the internet, and I've placed that on my ramp. But let's say we wanted to go around and put an image here. In fact, let's muck around and put it on this curved surface, because you can put a texture on a surface that's flat or curved. So we'll try that first of all with the image. Now what I've gone and done is in Google, done a quick search, and here I've done a graffiti search and clicked on images, and I liked this picture here of Dynamite. Now, just by the way, something you'll notice is that there's lots of squares here. What that indicates to me straight away is it's what we call a transparency. So there is a picture and it's sitting on top of a transparent layer, and that's what they call a Png file in this occasion. It's pretty common, and a Png file means it's portable network graphic, and that simply means that the background is clear. So that when we save this picture, which I'm going to do, by right-clicking and going Save Image As, I'm going to save this image and call it Dynamite Transparency. So I'll save that one there, and while we're at it, just for this demo, I'll create a new tab and I'm going to do a Google search. I'll just get that up and running and look for rusty metal texture, and I'm going to click on that. Now I click on images to just limit it to the images, and I might decide that I like this rusty texture here. The good thing about it is when we roll over it, it shows us how big it is, and the bigger the texture is, 4000 by 2667, is quite a large file. Now I can click on it and I could do a screen capture of this, or if I just wait a moment, it'll load the whole image. I'm going to right click and go Save Image As, and I'll call that Rusty Texture. And for the sake of this demonstration that's saved, I will also create another one, and we're going to call it, let's look for Wood Texture, because this is relevant whether we're doing skate parks or perhaps something else. I'm going to click on images again, and we can see we've got a selection that Google serves up for us, and I might go for the rough one and see what comes out of that. There's a couple of large, that one there, 3000 by 2000, that's pretty big. Your computer screen is about, probably in the order of 3000 by 2000, so that's a fairly large image. Let's wait for that to load up, and rather than, as I said, doing a screen save or a screen capture, I'm going to actually right click again and go Save Image As, and I'm going to call that, well, it's actually got a good name already, Rough Old Grungy Wood Background, so that'll do us. We're going to save that. Let's go back over to SketchUp now, and I'm going to try to just drop the first image that we had, which was the Dynamite one, and when I go to, what I do is go to File, Import, and then I'm going to look for these textures that I've got. Now Dynamite was the transparency one, if you remember, and that's one we're going to try to do. Now what we can do, we've got a couple of choices here. In Windows it might look a tiny bit different. The important thing to remember is initially when you load it up, it could, I've seen on some boys' computers it says as a file format is 3ds, and you'll see all of a sudden that all of these are grayed out. They're not clickable because it's looking for all files that end with .3ds. None of that'll work. So make sure that it says all supported image types, or perhaps you could do it as a TIFF, a PSD, a PNG, which you've just seen, and a JPEG. That was the wooden and the rusty metal texture as well. So I'll just go all supported image types. That's easier. It'll pick up everything. And we're going to go for Dynamite Transparency, and we're going to click here. This is quite important. as an option, we're going to go use as an image. I'm going to import that and put it over here. Now, you can see straight away that things are not working. It's kind of not sitting there correctly. If I go and hover over this surface, it can tell us, and we can see that it's looking kind of okay. Here, it's not okay. Notice as well there's no white background on this. That's because it's got that background transparency. So all we're seeing is Dynamite. Now, if I try to click that here, it's hidden because it's under the curve. It won't work. So I will, just for the sake of this demo, go back, click on Dynamite, use as image, and I'm going to import it, but I can drop it there. I'll click once, and then I'll click to the size that I want. And if I click over the size, it's going to leave it like that, but I'm going to click it down. And bingo, that is what we've got. So it's a pretty simple way of just importing an image onto that face. I'll undo that, and let's try something different. I'm going to import it, click on that transparency again, but this time I'm going to use it as a texture, and you'll see a big difference. So I'm going to click it there, and let's say we want it that big, and when I click again, what you're going to see is it should duplicate it multiple times as it's done there over that surface. Now this could be really good if you're trying to put something on glass, or perhaps if it was a timber texture or something, it would just repeat. So we can see there that it's sort of made the surface transparent. We can see through it, but we can't see through the text Dynamite or the exploding piece of the exploding dynamite graphic cartoon sort of look there. So that's one way of using a texture. Maybe what you can see now is where I'm headed. If we go to File, Import, and let's go for Rusty Texture, and we're going to use it as an image, just so I can prove again. What if I clicked it down here? Now remember, we're working as an image, and if I drag up to the top of the ramp and click, what it's going to do is leave behind the picture just on the surface, but it's not really a part of the surface, and I can't easily click to delete the section I don't need, so we just have the side of the ramp there painted. So if I do something different and go Import Rusty Texture, same again, but I'm going to this time use it as a texture and go Import. What I can do is click there, we'll click to the top of that, and when I click here, you're going to see that it leaves behind only the area on that surface, and that's much more appropriate for this drawing. So remember to click on the option that allows you to use it as a texture. Let's try doing that now again as a texture on our curved surface and see what happens. Click there, doesn't really matter. Whoops. And drag it up to there, and it's only put it on that surface there. So that was a bit of a fail. I was expecting that to actually apply that to the texture. I'm going to undo that and just select that there. We'll see if we can try something different. We'll use paints and then colors in model. That's not going to work, but there is that texture. So what's happened is, because I've put this texture down already somewhere in our image, I can then use it again, and I'll click it just there, but I need to make sure that guy is selected and click it, and now I have that texture. So that was important. It needs to be on colors in model, and then I'm going to, as I did, click on that to paint the texture onto that surface. And let's just prove it again and go around, and I will click on my paint tool again to activate it. That one's activated there, and paint that as a texture there. So if I wanted to, perhaps what I could do is get rid of that and use my texture. Now let's say I wanted to have the wooden background there. What I need to do first of all is import it, and I might put in my rough old timber texture. I'm going to use it as a texture, and I'm going to pop it anywhere. I'll just pop it here, doesn't matter. Actually, it wants to be somewhere. It needs to be on a surface, so I'll just click it on that surface, and it's popped it on as a texture. But it's also added it to my color palette in the model, because you can see now that this texture has arrived there. So if I wanted to continue that, I make sure that's selected, go to my paint bucket tool and drop it in there, and it's repeated regularly. Now there's probably better ways to do this, but I think that's certainly very adequate and useful for painting our model with a particular texture. In this case I'll just click that again. I might click that and go there, and so now we have a genuine looking ramp that has that texture. So importing a texture from a file that you found on the internet into your model, it becomes a colour in the model that you can use, and then you're in business. So we might finish it off by putting that there, and we're done. And don't forget, if we go to File, Import, now we've already done our Dynamite, but we'll do it again and just see, Import, and I'm going to pop it anywhere, doesn't really matter. And you can see now that because I popped it somewhere, you can put it on a blank bit of material that you make, a little square, just so that it becomes embedded in the model as a colour in the model, and we can click on that and then paint it in that way. What's interesting, I'm just noticing now, is that that's very, very small, as you can see. So what if we wanted to import a texture and have it repeating but to be really large? What we might do there is go File, Import, and it still is a texture, so I'm going to click Dynamite Texture, go Import, and click from there to somewhere really large, just trying to prove a point. And now it's become a really large colour or in the model as a texture. You can see that just changed. So when I select that and then go over here, you're going to see that the Dynamite logo will be much bigger. Let's just make sure that's selected and click on that, and it actually hasn't done it. So I've made a bit of an error there somewhere. I think there is a way to edit that. Here we go. Let's change that size to a width of, and we'll lock this. So I just double clicked on that texture and this brought me into an edit material mode, and I'm going to make that 20. If I press tab, because that's locked, it changed that size. So here we are, we can actually change it. Let's make it 50 and press enter, and now we're being able to see it change around a lot. So this is helping me work out that what I can do here with this timber, I'm going to double click on this timber texture here, because it's got, that's the size of the timber swatch, if you like, that's what it's called, the texture piece. You can sort of make out the rough outlines. If I double click on that guy there and then double click to change that, and let's make it 100 meters, because that little chain link is selected, unselected, selected, that means that when I press enter, it's going to adjust the height to be in ratio with what 100 would be, because we're multiplying both of them by the same amount, and now we have an even texture all over the ramp. So that, to me, looks like a much better job than having multiple textures kind of laid up on each other. So I hope that's of some help, and it'll perhaps give you some guidance. Oh, it's actually adjusted it all around the model as well, which is pretty cool. So there is a handy little trick to how to give you realistic textures, or perhaps graffiti or other art or styles to the different elements within your skate park or whatever else you're drawing in SketchUp. I'm sure it's handy for timber furniture, and we'll explore that a little bit as well. Thanks for watching.